The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus heard that John had been arrested, he withdrew to Galilee. He left Nazareth and went to live in Capernaum by the sea, in the region of Zebulun and Naphtali, that what had been said through Isaiah the prophet might be fulfilled. Land of Zebulun and land of Naphtali, the way to the sea beyond the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. The people who sit in darkness have seen a great light. On those dwelling in a land overshadowed by death, light has arisen. From that time on, Jesus began to preach and say, "Repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand." As he was walking by the Sea of Galilee, he saw two brothers, Simon, who is called Peter, and his brother Andrew, casting a net into the sea. They were fishermen. He said to them, "Come after me, and I will make you fishers of men." At once they left their nets and followed him. He walked along from there and saw two other brothers, James, the son of Zebedee, and his brother John. They were in a boat with their father Zebedee, mending their nets. He called them, and immediately they left their boat and their father and followed him. He went around all of Galilee, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the gospel of the kingdom, and curing every disease and illness among the people. The gospel of the Lord. As Jesus began his ministry, he called others to follow him. Teachers at that time had disciples who followed them. For others, it was the disciples who sought out the teacher. In the case of Jesus, he called the disciples to follow him. We may be struck by how quickly and completely they responded. They left their boats and their fishing gear behind. In the case of James and John, they left their father behind. At that time, fishing was a very stable profession. And between boats and fishing gear, they had a pretty significant investment. Maybe the question is, why did Jesus call these particular men? They weren't, it's got to be more than, to this little play on words, you are fishermen, I will make you fishers of men. I mean, I don't think they went around throwing nets over people, Jesus called others who weren't fishermen. He called Matthew, who was a tax collector. We didn't hear him say at that time, you collect taxes, now you'll collect people. And Jesus didn't call the most qualified people around. He didn't search out those who had higher education. He didn't look for those who had degrees in theology. He didn't find those who had experience in starting movements. Maybe he called them simply because they were there. Peter, Andrew, James, and John may have been the first people Jesus saw. He called them, and he called many people over his time. Some accepted him. Some for a while, some rejected him outright. A friend of mine has a plaque that says, Jesus didn't call the equipped. He equipped the called. He gave them the way of the kingdom. He equipped them with his love, compassion, mercy, and forgiveness. Then he sent them out to live it. In doing that, he ushered in the kingdom. Discipleship isn't something we take on ourselves. We are called to it. Jesus calls everyone. He calls all of us here. He calls this child today. He calls us and equips us with his love and mercy, forgiveness, and compassion. He sends us out to live the kingdom. He calls us because, as St. Paul said to the Corinthians, we belong to Jesus. Every time we gather here, Jesus sends us out to be his presence in the world. And in that way, we continue to usher in his kingdom today.